I think this is a great time for independent filmmakers. I think this is a great time. I look at this, the last time that SAG and the WGA went on strike at the same time was in the 60s.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
That was the last time they went on strike. And I was researching this for a paper I was doing. And coming out of that, you got the auteurs of the 70s. If we play our cards right and we push the envelope as much as we can, then the independent filmmaker is going to take over this thing.
Welcome back to another episode of the Rough Cut Club. I am your host, Joey Nicotra, here with my lovely one, the only, Shane Reitzhammer. Shane, how you doing, man?
Better now that you call me lovely, man. I'm feeling great.
You are lovely, bro, and I like that shirt. It's a great color on you.
Thanks. It's got some wrinkles, but, you know, it's ready to
Threw
go.
it on. That's right, man. Well,
off the floor onto my body.
That's pretty much how he does it, man. Well, hey, I am stoked today for our episode. Our episode is a very special guest who is not only a writer, a producer, a director, a production company owner, and one of my old film professors from the University of North Texas, the one, the only, Mr. Johnathan Paul.
Let's temper the applause here. This is brilliant.
What an intro that was. I'm pumped up now, man.
Johnathan, man,
Ready
thank
to
you
dive
for
into
joining us in the
Super
studio.
humble, guys. Yeah. No, thank you for having me. This is my first podcast.
Dude,
Awesome.
well, welcome to the pod, man.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
glad that we could be the first entry into the podcast world for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird still just calling you by your first name instead of professor. I don't know. I may go back to my old ways and just say, "What's up, professor?"
No, that's all good, man. It's awesome for me because, you know, I do work professionally, but it's always great to see where, you know, my students are at, former students. And just, you know, I keep up with you on
For sure.
Instagram. I keep up with Caroline on Instagram. And just, you know, shout out to Caroline.
Shout out to
Sears.
Caroline if she's
Love that
listening.
girl.
Yes.
She's awesome.
She's working for Adobe now,
I know,
which is so cool.
Just, it
Sick.
blows my
I
mind.
know. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
And just super proud of you guys.
Thanks,
and
man.
It's like, that's the reason why I do that. That's the reason why I still teach. You know, I still work professionally, but the reason I still teach is because I'm seeing you guys go out there and do your stuff, and that's awesome.
Man, that's so cool. It was even going to be one of my questions, and you answered it before I could even ask it to you. But it's so cool, man.
Yeah, and you guys have Micah, right?
Micah.
Did you have Micah?
Micah Breedlove? Or,
No.
Micah with Ohm Productions?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We had him on the show. Yeah,
Okay,
man.
cool.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was he
Yes.
one of your students too?
He actually, he took one of my classes. I think I was actually a TA
Okay.
when he took it.
Oh,
I
cool.
can't remember. Man, all of those years, they just...
That's
all-
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Well, Micah's
But he's
killing it now.
Awesome.
And it sounds like
dude.
I just missed you because I graduated 09.
09,
And so, but I've heard great things
Yeah.
about your classes and
Well,
all
thank
your experience.
you.
So I'm excited to have you on the pod today
Yeah.
and hear all about everything.
And I think I was your first year student.
were.
I was
You
the
and
guinea
Caroline.
pig. Yes.
Yeah. Which two of you, like, y'all did the workshop.
Yeah. So,
To
and
try it out.
this is my contribution to the University of North Texas. But I actually pleaded for a special problems course. It's what they called it back in the day. They said I had a special problem. And,
He does.
And I do. I had many. And got a special problems approval for taking After Effects courses, which they didn't offer that. Wow. And now is a permanent part of the curriculum that UNT offers.
Right.
That class fills up.
Because he and Caroline took it.
Yep.
And because they were successful at it, they made it a actual class.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have
Yep.
that when I was there.
I know.
That's great.
I keep saying I need royalties from all the students that take that class.
I mean,
Good
I'd
luck.
like to see royalties.
Good luck.
It's a state-run university.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I could contribute something, but man, first and foremost, thank you for enduring through all of my terrible projects while I was a student.
Oh, no. It was awesome. I still remember. I don't know if you'll remember, but one of the projects, there was a skateboard video.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
were doing like rotoscoping.
Yep.
over top, and I was like, dude, I was a skateboarder. Dude.
Yes,
This is awesome.
Yes,
This is awesome.
I rotoscoped my the music video too from what I learned
Yep.
in your class
I remember.
for the UNT Film Festival, which actually helped me win the film festival while I was a student there.
Yeah.
Which was also the video that I showed you to get my foot in the door working with him for my very first project.
Which one was that one? We got to throw it.
It was
throw it up on
DeAndre's
the.
music video.
Oh, yeah.
That was shot at the fair.
We
fair.
might throw a link up in the YouTube directly to this video. I remember that.
Yeah, that was so. Like, I guess really, I have you to thank for helping me get
no,
the foot
it's all
in the
you,
door.
man. It's
There
all
you
you.
go.
Yeah,
I didn't do any of that stuff.
Right.
I just said, hey, press that button.
I love it. I love it, man.
You're good.
Well, that's awesome. Well, dude, we're so excited to have you on
Yeah.
the show today. I want to
Thanks, man.
talk about, dude, your production company, the features that you're making, all the cool stuff that you got going on in the industry right now. So, give me a little bit of like what you're doing in the industry right now for those that don't know you.
Okay. Yeah. So I teach. That's one thing. I usually teach about, I'm part-time, so I only teach a few classes every semester. I'm on campus 1 to 2 days a week. Just kind of depends. So I always keep my foot in the door over there in academia. But for the most part, what I do now is producing, writing, producing, and directing. That's mainly it. And I run our production company, not just me by myself. It's myself. It's Josh Gilbert, my producing partner, who's an amazing guy. It's my wife. You know her, Marilena. She's our producer. She organizes everything. She's brilliant. So it's us. It's Andrew. It's all these people. So I'd spend most of my time doing that, and that's covering everything from legal to contracts to a bulk of my time is taken up doing a lot of that stuff. We're in negotiation on a film, so we're looking at contracts for that. What is that going to look like given the current climate? How does all of this work out and shake out? So that's where a bulk of and we're constantly, okay, what's next?
Right.
What's next? What's the third one after this one?
Right.
What's the fourth one after this one? We're constantly thinking
Next 5 moves.
4 or 5
Yes.
steps further, because you never know when this is all going to stop, and it could stop at any time. So, always keeping focused on that, and then all of the daily stuff that we have to get done. So, I wear multiple hats. I mean,
That's an understatement for
it's a
sure.
grind.
Yeah.
It's a grind, but it's fun, and we can go into that.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So how many features have you been a part of, produced, directed, or through your production company? How many to date?
I've been a number. Oh man, I can't even tell you how many. I mean, there's some I've been uncredited for. There's because I've worked on some that you're just doing back end stuff. You're doing touch ups on writing that you don't. It's uncredited.
Right.
So there's maybe 10. I guess.
Yeah.
And that includes documentaries.
Oh,
So
awesome.
I was gonna say you've done a bunch of documentaries too.
I've probably done the most.
I love docs. We're
Yeah.
definitely gonna have to dive into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done most of my work. The first decade of my career was mainly documentary, PBS documentary,
Awesome.
stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really cool stuff for
And it's
sure.
only been in the last, let's see, what is this, 2023? So 2017, 2018 is when I made the switch over to narrative.
Okay.
Not saying strictly narrative, but mainly narrative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome,
So
man.
film and TV.
I got to pick your brain later. We're working on 2 pitch decks for
Yeah,
2
yeah.
different documentaries. So that's awesome to awesome to know.
Pitch decks are weird now too.
Yeah.
That's changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? You like
It's you got to go shoot something.
right.
I mean, they want to see less and less paper and more visual stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been getting.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which
So you
creates
just kind
this
of go out.
conundrum.
So you just kind of go out and shoot almost like a small
yeah,
pitch piece.
that's what we did with Harsh Treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went and shot, and that was not even for the feature that we're doing now.
Yeah.
We just shot that we were coming out of the pandemic. Josh teaches at UNT as well. He teaches like 1 or 2 classes. And he and I are both working professionals, and we're coming out of the pandemic. And we're like, man, we got to get these kids out of here.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get them out of their house. Like, we got to go outside. you know, because we can't film inside yet, but we can go outside. We just got to do something. And so we were like, man, we got this story just laying around. Let's get some kids together and let's go film this thing. Let's get people back into the groove of trying to do something. And so we did. We went and shot it. And it was just a fun exercise. It didn't have anything to do with the class. It was just something that myself and a couple other faculty members, and we're just, hey, let's just go film something. And we did. And it was like, hey, this is pretty good.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Harsh Treatment. What is it?
So it's a action Western comedy. That's a mouthful.
That is.
So
Genre.
Exactly. Josh and I we love comedy, but we love action. We love adventure. We are massive fans of terrible 80s movies.
I solely relate to that, man.
Oh man,
they're so good.
So I don't know if you've ever seen Street Trash. Have you guys ever seen Street Trash?
Our tech
think
has.
so.
He's shaking his head back there.
Andy
but-
at the
Dude.
podcast desk. Yeah.
I mean, the toilet bowl scene. Oh my gosh, yes, dude.
Okay. That's my
I gotta
homework.
check it out.
That's my
Yeah, I mean,
homework.
you've got classics like that, Street Trash. You got The Stuff, right? You got Chud. You've got some man, what a Brain Dead. You know, you've got we got Maniac Cop. I mean, there's just Basket Case.
Yes.
You know, just all of these incredible, just terrible movies, but they're so good.
Dude, and once you like grow up like watching movies, even if they're not good, like you look back later on in life, you're like, I was at a stage where I could be impressionable enough to where it's like, it doesn't matter. Like you overlook all of that stuff and you just appreciate that movie, and it ties back to that season of your life, and you just, I don't know, there's something that like you hold on to with those movies that you grew up watching, and you look back and you're like, man, that was not good, but I love watching it and I can go back and see it all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Because you go back and watch some of those movies and you're like, man, you know, gosh, the acting in here. I think I might have been able to do. Okay.
We were talking right before this episode about Stormtroopers. Is that the name of it?
Or Super Troopers.
Super Troopers. Dude.
Love it.
Amazing film.
Oh, yeah.
You go back and look at it, but amazing film.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, I quote
Yeah.
Super. You boys like Mexico? I mean, Super Troopers is in my vocabulary almost daily.
Yeah.
Such a good
And he's
movie.
sitting there at the driver's side window, and
Yeah, littering and
littering and
great movie. I
So
gotta go. I
good.
gotta watch that again.
Right. Oh,
yeah,
man.
and that's where it comes to like Josh. I don't think you've ever met Josh, but Josh is primarily a comedic writer. He can write anything. The guy's just awesome. Like I consider myself a decent writer, and this guy just like blows me away. I mean, he's so good at it. And that's how we kind of work. Like I'll come up with a story, or we'll come up with a story, and then he'll go into his little cave, and then he'll just start typing away on his laptop, and he'll pump out a script in like a couple of days.
Wow.
And so that's his job. That's been his job for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
You know?
And so this action Western comedy that is in the works right now, it's not a documentary. It's a feature.
Oh no. Yeah, it's a feature.
Yeah.
It's our first one as a company. Because Josh and I, we'd been working in the industry for he much longer than me. I'd been in corporate and then went into documentary and then finally into kind of the studio system. So I haven't been in the studio system as long as Josh has, but I don't know. We just, going through corporate, doing the documentary was probably the most free I ever was. And then going back to the studio system, I was like, man, this feels a lot like my corporate gig that I was
Right.
for a long time. And so I don't know. We just we looked at it and we were thinking coming out of the pandemic, like, man, why don't we just roll the dice on this?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing this for a long time. Why don't we just do it ourselves?
Yeah.
Got the financing for it from Wall Street, and then it was on from there.
And you're really connected with some of the distribution platforms too through some of the stuff that you've done in the past. Have you already like pitched this to them and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing"?
I can't talk about that.
Okay.
But it is happening. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Say less.
Conversations are happening.
I love
Yes.
it. I love
Yeah.
it, man.
Yeah,
Where-
I don't want to get people into. Actually, I do want to get people in a bidding war. But
There you go. There you go.
yeah, but
Where did y'all shoot the film?
we shot it all here in Texas.
Awesome.
We shot it just north of Denton,
Okay.
so which is about where 45
Mm-hmm.
miles north of where
Yeah.
we are now in Dallas. So we shot it almost pretty close. Do you guys know where Gainesville is?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
about
that
an hour
last
and a
town
half or
before you
something.
get
Right.
to
Right on the
Oklahoma.
border. Yeah.
Yeah. So we shot it just a little bit south of there.
Yeah.
At a dude ranch. And they were great. They gave us the run of the place. We were able to shoot it out there. So that was awesome.
And how many days?
We actually were scheduled for full production, prep week plus wrap week. And then the production, we were looking at about 30 days. We shot that whole thing in 17.
Wow.
Yeah. We shot it in
Nice.
17.
Dang.
That's great.
Yeah.
That saves some budget.
And the reason is because of our two main actors. All of our actors were amazing. They were great. We got super lucky getting the actors that we did with the budget that we had. But our two main actors, Aaron Martin and Sterling Gafford, they're two friends. They were in the short film, and we wrote the movie for them. So, because they played the two characters in the short film. So when you're seeing them on the screen, we're like, God dang. And these guys,
Yeah.
they're so funny.
Like you
That's
just
awesome.
don't even need
Yeah.
many takes. You just get
No,
one.
and
you're
because they
moving.
had been friends for so long,
Yeah.
you get all of these little shorthand things, a look, a reaction. And it's stuff that you may not get between two actors who had never worked with each other. But because these guys had worked with each other for so long, you get all of these little tiny things. And it's just funny because we're sitting there watching the edit, like, these guys are great. This is awesome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So I got to know what it's like though because a lot of UNT students helped on that project, right?
Yeah, we had a number. Yeah.
So how is it working with a lot of people that, for just to be blunt, are pretty green and don't have experience? How is it bringing all these students to a production?
Well, the vast majority of them were not students. They were
Okay.
former students who had graduated
Got it.
and had gone to work in the industry in one form or fashion, somewhere. And then they came back and then they came to work on this
Cool.
feature.
Cool.
And most of them were students. They were former students of mine that I had in classes. And then I did have some students who were from UNT who were coming to do internships and they got paid gigs and
Love it.
so we did have some of that, which was great. That was fun. You got to have patience. I mean, you have to remember, which is tough sometimes, even for me. Sometimes because when we're on set, you have a very different mindset.
You do.
Because when I'm on set, yes, I'm directing, I'm producing, but the main thing that I'm seeing in my mind when I'm on set is a table, much like this. There's a pile of money on it, and somebody has set it on fire, right? And it's slowly dwindling down, and that's the image that I have in my head when I'm on set and we're sitting there too long. I'm like, dude, that pile of money is burning.
It's burning.
We've got to go.
Yeah.
And so I'm just as guilty of making things slow down as anybody else, but that's always like a fear that you have. And so, but in the back of your mind, you have to remember, which is difficult, is, man, some of these kids that are coming in here, you were in exactly the same position that they were when you started. So how did it go for you? If it went bad, let's make it better.
Yeah.
If it went great, then let's do more of that. You know what I mean?
You have to have opportunities to fail
Yes.
before you can grow.
Yes.
And so the fact that you're giving students an opportunity to sink or swim
Yeah.
is going to totally alter the course of their career, because I know that if he hadn't given me the opportunities that he did when I was first out of college, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to grow to where
yeah.
I'm at today.
Same thing for me. I think it's the same thing for anybody. Like I had great mentors early on, coming out of college. And I wasn't even in the industry at that point. I was in corporate America. So it was a very different, thing than what I was. And I was still doing marketing. We were doing animation. We were doing, commercials, all of this other stuff. I was a marketing executive. So I was doing all of those things. But it's very different. But it doesn't matter whatever field you're in, as long as you've got somebody there who can act as a mentor or just as a guide. Just like, hey, here, you see those guys on the tarmac, right? They're piloting the planes in. You got to just have somebody doing that. Okay, this way, right? And just kind of moving you into the right direction. And if you can have that, that just makes your journey all the better. Or if you don't have that, and I've seen this far too many times, you get kind of caught in this loop where you get stuck in one position and you can't get out of it. Or you feel like you can't get out of it. And it makes it difficult. And I try to do that as best I can with my students. Like I always tell, I have a class I was teaching this summer, and our last class is tomorrow. And I've set up, we're going to watch their films, and after it's over, we're going to have a Q&A. They can ask me any question that they want. A lot of them are graduating because it's a summer class, and it was the last one that they were taking to get done with their degree. So I'll never see them again, Hopefully I will, but usually when they go off, they go and do their thing. So I'm leaving this whole class. Ask me anything you want. If I don't have the answer, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because listen, if I can just answer some question that helps somebody's journey, man, that's awesome.
That's
So
fantastic.
cool.
Great guy to have on the podcast, man.
Dude, yes.
Yeah.
Part of the reason we started the podcast was Joey and I wanted to learn from everyone that we interviewed, but provide a resource for the filmmaking community to have these discussions, right? And ask those hard questions and to help guide people in the right direction. So man, so well said. I love the airplane, direction. I feel like
that's the professor hat coming.
that's it. Yeah. I feel the company culture we try to do at Cinema Story is giving people opportunities, and letting them, like Joey said, fail at times, but give them creative feedback, constructive feedback, so that they can learn how to do it better the next time, right?
Yeah.
And so we've done these things like short films where we go, hey, we're all going to work on this short film if you want, right? It's a passion project.
Yeah.
But you're going to work in a role that you typically don't work in.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is great.
So, hey, you don't get to be the DP usually. You're going to be the DP. You're going to be the director. And so that's just been fun to watch.
Push people out of their comfort zone.
You got to give them room to succeed, too.
Yeah. And you see them grow.
That's the best teacher. Failure.
Yeah.
Failure is, I can't tell you how many times I've failed. I've failed more times than I've succeeded.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Dude,
Yeah.
I think all of
100%.
us have.
And that's part of filmmaking in general. Like you have to, like when people say, oh yeah, the best way to learn is to put a camera in your hands. What they're really saying is the best way to learn is to mess it up 100 different ways before you learn how to use it right the first time.
Yeah.
And that's really what the bottom line of that saying means, is to go out and just fail.
Yeah. And I'm one of those few professors who will tell them, and I don't mean this in a negative way, because film school is very good for a lot of people. It gives them structure, it gives them theory, it gives them a lot of base, a lot of foundation to move into the next level. But man, there's some kids, they don't need to be there.
And I was going to ask you, so this is one of my questions. As a film professor, who is film school for?
It honestly is for everybody, because if you want to have a more rounded view of filmmaking, then by all means, go. Do you have to go to film school to work in this industry? No. 100% no. I mean, the vast majority of the people I work with have not gone to film school at all. Like they've been grunting it out on set as a crew member since day one.
Yeah.
And that, I will tell you, I cannot teach you in a classroom what you will learn on a set. You know what I mean? Like I can give you the PowerPoints, I can give you the slides, we can do the workshop, I can show you hey, this is how we do this, this, and this, and you'll have the foundation, You'll know stuff. You'll know the terminology. You'll have the foundation. But, dude, you're not going to learn this stuff unless you get out there and start working.
Dude, you couldn't have said it better. Yeah. I've had a lot of people ask me, like, should I go to film school? And I think, we did a thing on this, but the answer really depends.
It does.
It depends on what type of person you are, and it depends on what your goals are.
Right.
And so if you're just trying to get out there and make a freelance career, you can do that without a degree.
Yeah.
100%.
You can, but, I mean, if you want to do that and you want to be an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
You could totally do that on your own. If you have a film degree and you're getting a film degree because, that's the way you are.
Right.
That's how I want to do it. I love to learn. I love to, okay, great. Awesome. Let's do that. But while you're doing that, why don't you go over there next door and get that MBA, or just not an MBA, but just go and take a couple of business classes, right? Get your minor in business. So that way you know how to run things when you're done. Because that's probably the biggest critique that I've gotten from students over the years is just not preparing them for that part of it. And I don't know that anybody's actually doing that as good as we could. I think we can always do better at that. I think we do the best we can, but we can always do better.
Yeah. I love that. I think when I graduated in 2009, I loved film school. I love the foundation, the theory, but everything changes so fast, right? So what I learned on, is obsolete, like it's collecting dust.
Yeah.
But, so you gotta do
what
your.
What were you guys filming on, if you don't mind me asking?
It was mini DV tapes.
Okay, so I was film. I was still film.
Wow, that's awesome. We got to manipulate
Still
one. Like an 8mm or 16mm, we got to do like a edit splice, but we didn't need to shoot with it.
So do you remember UNT? Do you remember Oak Street? Do you remember the building where they had the film processing center? Do you remember that? Did you ever go there?
No, I didn't get to go there. I don't think.
Oh man, it was like this black hole.
Yeah.
And that's where we would go and we'd shoot our Super 8 or Super 16, and then we'd go and we'd string it up and develop it over at the lab on Oak Street.
It's
I missed
so
that.
fun to actually develop film. I've never got to do it for video, but I did get to do it for photo, and just like going into the room and knowing like this is Lightroom.
Yes.
In, the dark room. You know what I mean? Like this is where the edit happens.
And based on your chemicals.
Based on the mix. And it's like you had to be a legit scientist in order to color photos back in the day. And
you
I'm
had
like,
to know chemistry. You just had to, oh man, keep an eye on oh gosh, is it time yet?
Yeah.
We need to take it out.
Yes. Yeah. It's such a fun process.
Yeah.
Yeah. We took a film photo class in high school. Which is what got me exposed to that. And it's so funny. My professor or teacher, I guess he wasn't a professor, he's a teacher, tried to get me to join like the photo program or something to that effect. And I turned it down because at that time I was just like, this is like a fun little side hobby. And I guarantee you I'm the only one that actually made a career out of it from the people that he asked to do it. But it was so fun at the time, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's understanding the analog process. I'm very thankful that I started there. I mean, the very first camera that I started using was actually this really crappy JVC camcorder. And
I'm pretty sure that was mine too.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had.
We
like
were
one
filming
of the little...
skateboard videos.
Same.
Just like
I didn't know you were a skateboarder back in the day.
Yeah, we were. I was not a skateboarder, bro.
You could have lied to me, and it would have been great.
I can do a few things. I can stay on a board.
There you go.
And hold a camera.
I love it.
So you were the guy out there filming.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Same.
I was doing a lot of that. Yes,
I was. So it's we've had a lot of filmmakers that are skateboarders on the pod.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is it with skateboarders and filmmaking? And then I was like, I was the same way. Like I think I went down the ramp once and face plant, ate it.
On a bike, totally different.
Tear it up.
I
There you
could
go.
kill a vert ramp on a bike.
Nice.
But on a skateboard,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You get to that coping and you're looking down. Like, oh Lord.
Once you've slammed once and that tailbone is fried, you're like, I ain't doing this.
You know what?
yet.
I'm sticking to the street.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'll tell you what it is, though. It's that the entire sport revolves, especially back in the day, around making skate videos.
Yes.
And so unlike football or basketball or any like collegiate like sport with a ball, skateboarding it's always been about making skate
Yeah.
videos.
And those tapes just
Yes.
passed around.
And it's not what it used to be today that it was even when I was growing
No.
up. Like feature film skate videos were the market.
Yes.
Like I remember going to theaters and watching skateboard feature films that would have an independent distribution back in the day. And so you're constantly growing up trying to find a filmer who will film you skateboarding to help make your skate part.
Yeah.
And so you grow up around cameras and edits and making films that once you actually grow up and you're like, well, if the skateboarding thing didn't work out, this is the only other thing that I love doing in life.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So I remember seeing a video from a buddy of mine. And I can't remember if it was Levi's or if it was Sean's. I'm not sure who actually owned it, but we were watching it, and it was a early video VHS tape of Rodney Mullen. I don't know if you know who that guy is.
Of course.
Dude.
He's the king.
Legend.
The king.
The legend.
Yeah.
And I remember watching him like, I will never be able to do any of this. But man, do the images look awesome.
Well, just to give you a little bit of peace and comfort, even to this day, nobody can do some of the things that he did.
Exactly.
Like he just had a crazy different style that even all that time ago, nobody can replicate the way that he did.
Right. Which is amazing.
Yeah.
But just seeing like the fisheye, you know, and just, you know, seeing them. And then, and then at one point it was like static cameras.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, the camera's moving.
Yeah.
Like so somebody's skateboarding and they're holding a camcorder and they're following along. I can do that, you know, and then you kind of get excited and you're like, oh, wait, okay. So as long as as long as there's no rocks or cracks, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, since you brought the fisheye up, I got to tell you the story. But so back in the day when I bought my very first camera, I think it was a Canon T5i. The very first lens that I bought for it was a fisheye, even before a regular standard lens, because my whole life I grew up filming with fisheyes, skateboarding, that I was like, this is the only lens I know. It was my first purchase. And I used my camera instead of the school's camera. And I won't say his name, but a professor that you know docked me points in my project because he said it was a poor creative choice of lens to use. And it was all that I had. And I was like, dude, there's no way this is right.
You should have submitted it to me.
I should have. I've gotten bonus points for creativity. Yeah, that's funny.
But I mean, if you've never been through that, right? Because you look at the 90s, man, through the 90s, we were seeing like a ton of skateboard videos.
Yeah.
A lot of BMX stuff. Like Matt Hoffman was doing like crazy stuff. You had the X Games was exploding then. And then all of a sudden you started seeing like all of these different like motocross, like just crazy motocross videos. And so you're like, okay, action sports might be a place that I want to go into. And of course I didn't.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's so hard. It's one of those things that so many people want to do, thus like the pay for it is never great. Like
no, it's not. It's always got to be a passion.
Yeah,
you got to
100%.
be passionate about it.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been nice to make a career filming skateboarding, but it's not my path. But well, transitioning from the past into present day, there's some couple interesting things going on right now that we've actually yet to really dive into on this pod. But one of those things is the writer's strike, which is currently affecting you. I kind of want to get your thoughts on like the strike in general, and then tell me how it's affected your business.
Sure. Yeah. So we're members of the Writers Guild. You know, we're a signatory company with the WGA. Josh is a voting WGA member. So it's the impact of the strike really affects us quite a bit. You know, because it's our union. You know, it's we're creatives, we're writers. You know, we rely on those residuals. We rely on those agreements with the Alliance to ensure that, you know, we've got rent money.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a car payment. You know, because you know, we all have kids and all this other stuff. And is it affecting the top percent earners? Not really. Not really. Is it affecting those big time writers, you know, showrunners? Not really. Who's it affecting? It's the writing staff. It's the PA. the writer's room, the PA in the writer's room, the staff writer, the story editor, just all those people who, they rely on these things. They rely on jumping from job to job, to keep things going. So anytime there's a work stoppage, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough. I'm okay because I wear multiple hats. Not everybody wears multiple hats, which is, I don't know if you remember, I used to tell you guys in class, you got to have a full toolbox. Just know one thing really well.
I remember that. You just unlocked memories.
Yes, but then know a couple of things. So if one thing starts to go down, you can pick up somewhere else.
Yeah.
And, not everybody is that way.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's totally okay. But, the strike is making it tough. I don't know how much do you guys know about do you guys know the main core pieces that we're arguing about?
It's the minimum basic agreement, I think, the MBA, right?
Yeah. It's the basic agreement. It's also, it's just the residuals long term.
Right.
Because the main thing that we're looking at is it's more so probably TV than anything. Because before we had network TV, cable TV, you got residuals every time a show would air, especially if it went into syndication, because they'd get ad revenue from the commercials, and then you would get mailbox money based on that. When things moved over to streaming, I don't know how many times it's being watched.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Netflix knows how many times it's being watched.
Right.
How many people are subscribing for your show? You see what I mean? Like the math becomes much harder.
Yeah.
It's not as just clear cut as with network and cable TV. So, I've seen friends of mine who have gotten some raw deals from the streamers, and it's a one-time payment. And I'm sitting there looking like, dude, that would be 1 year.
Yeah.
With a network or cable.
I think when I was looking into it, I think it was.
And this is for a lifetime.
Yeah.
They the streamer, they own it.
Yeah, I've heard bad
Crazy.
deals. Yeah.
I think I read it. I might be wrong in the name, but I think Orange is the New Black. I think one of the writers for that got a residual check of $27 or something like that.
That would not surprise me.
It was like, dude, you can't work off that. And I think it was a 98% approval rating within the guild to go on strike, which is insane. Almost unanimously agreed.
Would you say that streaming has caused this? The majority of this, right? Because I think streaming. We were talking to Tony Armour just earlier in another podcast, and he said streaming has changed everything, right?
It has.
Yeah.
And the problem, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a good thing because and this is I gotta put a disclaimer out here, okay? So I am a creative, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a director, writer, producer, all those whatever, right? I do stuff creatively, okay? But my first job was in corporate America. And so I was an executive. So I understand fully the reason why these studios are doing what they're doing. I get it. You're beholden to stakeholders. You're beholden to investors, shareholders, right? You have to ensure that your stock price is staying at a substantial dollar amount. Otherwise, you're going to get massive pushback. I get that. But man, you can't do this stuff at the expense of everybody that's out there working.
Yeah.
Busting their ass.
Yeah.
To get this stuff that you are selling done. And it was fine when it was the theaters, it was Blu-ray, it was DVD, it was VHS, it was all this stuff. And it was TV, it was network, cable, blah, 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 pay-per-view, right? Because then you could clearly see where dollars and cents were going. Ad revenue, all.
Yeah.
Streaming's a different beast, man.
Well, and the supply and demand has changed drastically, which I would argue has made an impact on it too. Like the demand for new content is super high right now.
Yeah.
And to be honest, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a lot harder back in the day to become a writer than it is now. And with the supply increasing, to compete with the demand, that drives the price down when there are more people who
Right.
are like, yeah, I'll write a cheap script. It's the race to the bottom.
Let's think about this logically. Anybody can be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Anybody. You got an iPhone? Go make a movie. If you have an iPhone, that means you probably have the YouTube app on your phone, which means that you can upload that movie you just shot to YouTube. There's your distribution platform.
It's that
What's
simple.
stopping you?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when I started, it was the old way of doing things, right? So you go make a movie. Cool. You scrounge up, you talk to the doctors, the lawyers, the dentists, the family, the friends, the shop owner, and you just try and gather up as much money as you can to go make a movie, right? And hope to God you can pay for that roll of film, to get things shot. And then when you're done, you had to take it to a festival and then cross your fingers there again. Hopefully somebody will watch it, somebody will see it. And now it's like, man, just like I said, you can pick up an iPhone, you can buy a couple of attachments for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at Tangerine. Did you guys ever see Tangerine? The movie
I haven't,
Tangerine.
no.
So, and I'm totally blanking, and forgive me, the filmmaker's name. He did Tangerine. He did the Florida Project, which was awesome.
Was this the guy that shot like one of the first features on the iPhone and then
iPhone.
got it
Okay.
distributed,
Yeah,
right?
and he got-
Tangerine sounds familiar. Yeah.
And I mean, he had additive pieces to it.
Sure.
He had a lot of support on
Right.
that, right? But still, he
Yeah.
used something that is everyday, a functional tool that people have every day.
And now they got like the cinematic mode on there or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And it's way better than the beta version. So you can
Right.
actually give like depth of field to your images just right off an iPhone.
Right.
And shoot them in what they have 4K RAW
We
now
do
too.
4K. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can shoot ProRes on them. And it's
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if you remember, Red had a phone there for a while. Do you guys?
I
did you
do
know that?
remember that.
Yeah.
I forgot. They like
Yeah.
quietly just like tucked that one away.
I'm a Red dude, and I nearly bought that phone.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. I forgot that they did
Yeah.
that. We need
Yeah.
to
It
get
just
one of those.
disappeared, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
so fun.
I mean, honestly, it's like there are places. So the streaming side has opened things up. It has made it a bit more democratic, I think.
What do you mean by that?
Like anybody can go and make
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's no longer like siloed away for only
Yeah.
the Tarantinos, the Scorseses, the Spielbergs, the whoever.
There's
right?
accessibility for anybody to make
Exactly.
movies
I
nowadays.
mean, look at the director of Shazam. He started out making these short little horror movies and he was releasing them on YouTube. And he did one called Lights Out. And I think it was Warner Brothers picked up Lights Out and made it into a feature. And then from that, he got Shazam.
Wow.
I mean, so
That's
there's
crazy.
tons
From
of
YouTube
Yeah.
to Hollywood.
Always Sunny
yeah.
in Philadelphia. Started off as they shot it on a camcorder, I think.
Crazy.
And they were putting stuff on YouTube or Funny or Die or I don't remember. It was on one of those. But anyway, it started online and now it's one of the longest running TV shows that
Yeah.
we've currently got going.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, and even the FX3, the Sony FX3, it's
Yeah.
like a $3,700 camera or whatever. The Creator, that new movie that's coming out, it's a big movie, but they shot it on an FX3.
Yeah.
It's a $3,500 camera. Granted,
Yeah.
they had $100,000 glass in front of it.
Right.
But
Right.
you know,
That's a good point too. Like
Yeah.
it no longer really matters
the camera.
the body.
No.
Because it's all a computer. Everything's all a
And
computer.
everything is good now. Like
Yes.
back in the day, it was like, oh, this one has this feature and this one, and like there's still stuff, but it's negligible in the
Right.
grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, to you and I, to the three of us, we'd probably be able to pick. Oh,
Pixel
that's
peep
a,
the
That's a
differences,
Black
yeah.
Magic sensor. That's a Red sensor. That's an Alexa sensor.
Yeah.
I get that. But if you put the same glass, like if you're going at, I'm going to go get some Super Baltars and I'm going to put them
Yeah.
on a PL mount
Right.
on a Black Magic, dude. The vast majority of people, man, that looks great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That looks
Totally.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
They're not even going to know that you shot that on a Black Magic Pocket.
Yeah, well, even the difference between a Black Magic and an Ari Alexa, like I know a lot of people that A/B those cameras together.
Yeah.
Seamless.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
tell which one's a $1,800 camera and
No.
$60,000 camera.
Do you guys think too about distribution of like how people are consuming media too, right? Because a lot of people are watching because it's streaming. They're
Yes.
just watching it on their phone.
Yes.
So a lot of that stuff is almost not as important to them. It's not important to
No.
filmmakers. Yeah, sure, you have your tools that you want to use, but they're watching on these tiny screens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You're
an
not
iPhone to a Alexa Mini, it's gonna.
You're not seeing like, okay, so we were going into the feature film, and I wanted to have a very kind of classic Roger Deakins type of look for it because it's a Western, so you want it to be a little dirty. So I'm going to use some old vintage glass that we've got a little bit of that fungus, that kind of that
Character.
dirtiness.
Yeah.
Yes. So you wanted that within it. And I was working with Alex Simon, our DP, and we were just kind of going back and forth on, man, what do we want to use for this? We ended up going, oh my gosh, what did we end up using? He's going to hate me for this. He's going to hear this. I'm totally, we used the Canon FDs, the vintage Canon FDs.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say the Zeiss Super Speeds, but we used that for the previous project. But
Yeah.
we went with these Canon FDs.
OGs.
Yeah. And they're from the late 1960s, rehoused.
Yeah.
Looked amazing. Gave us this nice, like, dirty look.
Yeah.
Now, I can look at it and say, man, that's shot on a digital camera and not shot on film stock.
Right.
But I show it to my mom. My mom's, well, that looks amazing.
Yeah. Me and my wife talk all the time about like, hey, did you see how they shot that? Like, what'd you think about that? She's like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
They're not looking, 99% of movie consumers are not looking at the movie the way that we're looking at the movie.
No.
And they don't care about the sensor, the camera, the color science, even the lens choice. They don't care about any of that. They don't care about half of them just go, oh, that looked cinematic. And they don't even know why a movie looks good. They just, it's either good or it's not.
And back to your point, I think that's the part that we have to figure out. Mm-hmm. Like, where is the audience? Mm-hmm. Like, where are they watching? And I honestly, I have two kids. I have two daughters. One is a senior in high school. One is a freshman in college. Actually, she's a sophomore in college now. They're watching YouTube. Mm-hmm. They're on their tablets.
And
they're
Instagram
on their
and
phones.
TikTok.
Yep.
I was listening to a video recently. They were talking about just how the music video industry is changing because people right now aren't even watching full-blown music videos anymore.
They're watching clips.
They're watching clips of them on social media.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people in the music video industry are moving to just shooting 30-second little snippets that tease their song that give people an opportunity to watch something because the audience is now on social. They're not watching even full music videos.
Well, and it makes it more shareable, right? Because then that it can go viral. It's people tag duet whatever on TikTok.
Yeah.
And you don't have to watch for 2.5 minutes.
Exactly.
3 or 4
Because you
minutes.
ask people, like, I love music videos. When was the last time you watched a whole one from start to finish?
Yeah.
And I love them. I love making them, and I haven't even been watching them.
I miss MTV and watching music
MTV
videos on
jams.
MTV.
Yes. Yeah.
Put it on the background all day long.
I don't know if you guys, I don't look it, but I love metal.
Let's go.
I love metal. I was a metalhead growing up. Yeah, you know what I'm talking
Andy,
about.
What's the band that you did?
Which one?
One that he would be impressed by.
Machine Head, Linkin Park.
Oh man, Machine Head. Yep. A Perfect Circle. I saw them on their very first tour, and was absolutely blown away.
Yeah,
I saw them at the Fort Worth Convention Center, I think. Yeah.
He did all their albums, which is crazy.
Dude, yeah, bro, we gotta talk. Yeah, we gotta talk, dude.
13 Step and Emotive Emotion.
Oh man, dude.
So sick. Yeah, anyway.
I am a massive Tool fan.
Oh yeah.
Like Tool is like, and Tool is different. And I'm sorry to get off track.
No.
But this is like when you get guys who are like no Tool. Like, dude, I cannot listen to Tool in singular songs.
No, it has to be a whole album.
Exactly.
It has to be a whole album.
If I listen to Tool, I've got to listen to it from the start of the album to the end of the album.
When
It's
the
a
newest
journey.
one came out,
It is.
I was in Cancun with my wife, and we stopped everything that evening.
Fear
I was
Inoculum?
like, yes, I was
Bro.
like,
I'm right
Did
there
we
with
just
you.
become best friends?
Yes.
Yup.
and I'm gonna sit over here. I put my headphones on. I listened to the entire thing.
Yes, start to
The day it
finish.
came out.
Yep.
So sick.
Oh man, dude. Yes.
Metal podcast
Yes.
coming soon.
Yeah.
Andy and Jonathan.
Andy and John.
Oh
It's
yeah.
good.
Oh
So
man,
fun.
dude. Yeah, because like I mean, those videos were awesome.
So sick.
Like I remember, Headbangers Ball would come on, and you'd sit there and watch like Megadeth. Right, I loved Megadeth. I loved Slayer. Like, I grew up in the '80s, so I'm pulling like old thrashers like
Yes.
Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, Metallica, just all these great
Love
bands
it.
from the '80s, and then graduated into the '90s. I had my grunge period.
Yes.
I had my grunge period, like most everybody, but yeah, you don't see those.
You don't.
And that's sad because you got a lot of filmmakers got their start there.
Yes.
What I will say though, to play devil's advocate, is because the music video industry has changed so much, there's so many more indie film, like indie music videos that do come out still. And I will say this, that as much as they don't look like they used to, I will give indie filmmakers credit because they push the envelope in new creative ways that the bigger studios didn't used to do.
Right.
And like everything used to be these polished, maybe not in the metal world. I don't know the metal music
Oh no,
videos
it was
like
like
that.
a dude just
Yeah,
doing this.
Yeah.
Right,
Zoom
right.
in, zoom out. Yeah.
Different. But like if you look at like the mainstream music video market back
Yeah.
in the day, a lot of it was like these super polished in studio, crazily
So
well
David
lit.
Fincher got his start.
Totally.
That's right.
And now like there's so much creativity in the storytelling and how they have to catch your attention if they want to make a successful project, which anyway.
Yeah,
Tangent.
I still, I mean, if that goes away, that's just one more, just like kind of
Artifact.
I don't want to say nail in the coffin, but
Yeah.
it's just one more thing that we just don't have like access to explore, right?
Right.
Because with music videos, that was, I've never been a big music video guy. I've helped shoot music videos, but I know friends of mine who shoot music videos, and that was just always their greatest creative outlet because
100%.
they'd go work on these commercials where it's very rigid and structured.
Yeah.
And then they'd go shoot this, music video where they get to work with the band. And then it's like, okay, this is your song. Let me read the lyrics. Okay, cool. I have an idea.
Yeah.
And they're just bouncing ideas back and forth, and then they just get creative.
Yeah.
When we get a project in Cinema Story and it's a music video, Joey's probably the most. We're the most excited. We're like, and usually they're low budget, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, we're on big corporate commercials. It's great, but we get so pumped on these tiny little budget music
man.
videos.
Yeah.
And I'll ask Joey, I'm like, you sure you want to do this? Like we don't have a lot of crew. There's no budget for crew. We're going back to old school filmmaking, and he's like, absolutely. Like this is because it's a creative expression, like you're saying. It's that collaboration. Yeah, and I hate to see it go away. We enjoy doing it, and we do have so much more creative control of the story, I feel like, or input collaboration that you don't always get in the corporate world.
No, because you're beholden to a marketing director, or
Brand
somebody
standards
like
or an ad
I was,
agency. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they have a particular vision, they have a
Right.
particular brand that they're trying to get out there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're kind of there's a little bit of creativity, but you're kind of stuck in a box for the most
Not
part.
only that, but as a DP, you get to do things in music videos that you don't get to do in any other arena.
Yeah.
Like with crazy light designs, the world that you create for the audience to
Fisheye
experience.
lenses.
Fisheye lenses are accepted again.
on a skateboard,
Yes.
just rolling through the
Yes, there's no
soundstage.
like limits and boundaries. It's just the most like creative way to express yourself as a
Right.
filmmaker with lighting design, with storytelling, with camera decisions,
Yeah.
and just
And you don't have to worry about the dialogue
no, there is none.
unless they're singing.
Unless there's
They're
a
singing
skit
to
or
a
something.
track
Yeah,
or
right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go back to your point. You were talking about budget. I think that is going back to kind of WGA and SAG too now, right? Because SAG is now on strike. All this stuff has to do with AI. That's a big one. Let's check that box because, behind the scenes, like Josh and I have had conversations with people from the studios. I will not mention who. But we have had conversations with folks from the studios who have essentially told us that they'll be just fine using artificial intelligence to write the script.
Chat GPT
And
for
then
movies
hand
in
it-
2025.
Yeah, and then hand it over to a writer to touch it up. And as writers, we're both like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Hold on, what? You want me to touch up a script that's from an artificial
ChatGPT.
intelligence? Like,
This is how it all ends. This is how the robots take over.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, and I'm not one of the doom and gloom
Right.
folks. We use, for example, artificial intelligence in our visual effects workflow, and it is a godsend because
It's
helps
a tool,
us,
though.
It is a tool. It helps us with tracking, rotoing, simple composites. For example, we pulled a Game of Thrones on the last movie and had a water bottle
Nice.
in the
nice.
background, but we caught it.
Yep.
And so it was one of those where we were able to go use a combination of After Effects and Photoshop and
Paint
we
it
used
out.
artificial intelligence, painted it out 10 minutes later.
Generative fill
Frame, yep.
is crazy right now.
Download the beta version of Photoshop
Yep.
and use the remove tool.
Yeah, you just click a person
It's amazing.
and they're just gone.
Yes.
And it's like unbelievable
It's
how
amazing.
good it is. Like
Yeah.
you cannot tell.
Yes. No, it's crazy. So there's areas where it can be really good, but there's also areas where, oh damn, okay, this is getting a little scary because for writers, our biggest hang up is that you're going to give our job to an artificial intelligence and then force us to go back in and touch it up,
Yep.
right? But then the question becomes, where is it getting the idea from?
Right.
Like, where is
Pulling it in the style of
Right.
said writer.
Right. And so, the studios have said that we can make it to where it only pulls from our library of content. Okay. All right. But that's still somebody else's work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's still somebody else. It's pulling pieces from somebody else's stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and just in my good conscience, I can't, because I know the legal side of it, like using derivative works, right? I mean, just like parodies, reenactments, like all of these things that use in documentary and in feature films. And man, I just can't, it rubs me the wrong way. It can be totally used as a tool, but not as a crutch for a studio to use it to just, because here's what is also going to happen too. And this is an interesting conversation point that you guys should think about is that, okay, cool. Well, let's say that studios can do whatever they want at the end of the day, honestly. If they start using AI to generate all these scripts, man, that's going to become pretty bland pretty quick.
Right.
Because it's an AI program
That's pulling off of stuff that already exists.
Yes, and
Everything it learns from, it's learned from pulling off the web.
Yes, and I have gone through ChatGTP, and Josh and I have tested it out. Well, let's see what this thing does. And it's interesting. We jumped different stories, gave it similar questions, and got similar feedback, even though the stories were completely different.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, in my mind, just kind of doing it as an academic, as a research, academic, I was looking at like, man, okay, that's 5 different stories.
Yeah.
And like 2 of them are similar.
Well,
Yeah.
and the key to my understanding is how specific you get in the prompt.
Yeah.
Whenever you're writing something, because
Yes.
if you're like, write a story about a love story
This
for a
character,
family,
this theme,
whatever.
this plot. Yeah.
but if you're like in the style of Wes Anderson in the 1980s with the all these details, it'll spit you out something a little bit different. But you have to write the prompt well.
But that's what you're saying, though.
Yes.
You ran a test. He ran a test, and he did 5 different prompts.
Yeah.
And he got 2 stories that were similar.
That were similar.
So, and that's
And that's changing
Yeah.
the parameters of what the stories
Crazy.
are.
yeah.
But it was interesting. Like, so we went through and we were like, well, give us a list of character names for these characters. And we did it over here. We did it over here. And one was a horror fantasy, and the other one was it was like a drama.
yeah,
I think it was a drama. I can't remember. But when we started looking at the names that it spit out for the characters, we're like, wait a minute. These first names a number of these are the same, right? And then some of the plot points and the structure points, because you can tell
Yeah.
it'll spit out a full structure for you,
right.
which again, as a tool. If you're a
helpful.
writer,
Yeah.
if you're trying to
Overcome
bounce an
creative
idea,
block
yes,
or something,
and
yeah.
you're trying to figure out a story, man, that could be a great tool to get you beyond writer's block.
Right.
That could be an awesome
Totally.
tool, to really help you.
And I've used ChatGPT in a commercial writing standpoint
Yeah.
for that scenario where I'm like, I have the idea. I know I want this character. I have this. I need to bounce off some ideas. And I ran the prompt several times and
Yeah.
changed the prompt, parameters.
Right.
And it was interesting because there were times where I felt like I got the same story, just slightly changed.
Yeah.
And I knew that, well, maybe I just need to adjust my prompts more. But I agree. It's a great tool to be able to utilize, but I don't see it as an in-value product.
No.
And I just got to throw this out here, and I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I saw this on, social TikTok or something recently, but they're like, yeah, ChatGPT and AI is basically just the biggest plagiarism machine that exists right now.
Because you have no idea, it's fully pulling from the web. So
Yeah.
we have no idea where it's actually put.
Yeah.
My assumption is that it's pulling from anything and everything that is available.
Right. Well, I think there's a huge lawsuit going on with OpenAI right now for actually infringing on privacy agreements to learn everything that it did learn. So that'll be interesting to see what the outcome of that.
Yeah, just if anybody uses it, don't put personal information on
Right.
that stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
learn.
there's
Yeah.
a disclaimer there.
Yeah.
Don't put your personal.
Totally.
Keep it.
Wait, so when I gave him my bank account number,
Yeah.
that wasn't good?
Yeah, that was not a good idea. Because I had some students that were playing around with it, and they were putting personal information on it. I'm like, yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, read that. There's a reason why they give you those prompts to look at. Yeah. But the other big one is AI on the VFX side. And so that's where the actors get involved. And that's the idea of the actors getting scanned, and now the VFX companies can use their scan, use artificial intelligence to put them into the movie
Yep.
as background extras. And I can do that now
Yeah.
with the AI and software that we use. But, bro, that becomes a slippery slope.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and we were even talking about before this pod what they were doing with Indiana Jones, the new film, where they just
The DH.
they just take his face and now they've made him look young, just
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I'm not quite there yet.
Not quite, but
Yeah.
the stuff that they're doing with VFX, where it's just oh, let's take this face and we can do whatever we want with it.
Right.
It's
It is. And then you have to remember, too, and that's where the TV show Snowpiercer, they just released, there were some tweets or messages on Instagram. I can't remember what it was. I'm not on social media. But I had somebody was telling me this, and I read it, and the actors were asked to come in for some CGI work. And they were scanned. And so, this is just for pickup CGI work, which it may have been. But now the company has their image. And they not only scanned the main cast, but they scanned the extras.
They can do whatever they want with
They
them.
can do whatever they want with it.
Wow.
It's very
The
interesting.
game is changing.
Yeah.
I know we're like an hour deep into this pod, but I got to chase this rabbit.
Oh,
So
yeah,
this
no.
is a little crazy thing that I've told Joey this several times. But think about this, and maybe less than 1 to 2 years, will we be able to trust anything that we see on a video screen? Because here's the thing, like you said, getting these scans, so my wife and I, we watch a lot of murder documentary, series.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of these people are seen on closed cap TV, security camera TV, right?
Right.
They're walking and they're exiting or they're carrying a body. I can be able to make that in a year or two and show that you murdered XYZ person, frame you. Like, what can be trusted? How can the data, is there a way to put signatures in this data? Because it's not analog anymore, right?
No.
Yeah.
And so my hot hack here, and if anybody wants to go in business with me, you can comment on this still, or you guys, okay, going back to analog security cameras. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to believe security cameras.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Bringing back
not
mini
gonna
DV
happen,
tapes.
dog.
Come on,
Not
guys.
gonna happen.
Hey, let's check this podcast in 2 years.
There
guys.
we go.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll
yeah.
see how well it ages.
No, but that's a scary thought.
Oh, yeah, for
'cause
sure.
You can now. There's
Yeah.
AI to adjust somebody's voice, make
Yep.
them say something that they didn't actually say.
And you can move their lips too.
Yeah.
So like what they're doing now is they're actually changing the language that the film comes out in, and their lips move to
match that.
match
That's how they're
that
doing
language.
the overdubs for a
crazy.
lot of these movies.
Yep,
Yeah.
for international films.
You can do it on the Captions app. I don't know if y'all have played around with that,
No,
but so the
no.
Captions app that people use for social, now they have AI beta in there that you can change your voice into any language you want.
Wow.
It's
Whoa.
insane.
That's crazy.
On your phone.
Yeah,
On
on
your
your
phone.
phone.
Crazy, dude.
So I mean, it's
It's
endless
inevitable, though.
opportunities.
Yeah.
It's all of this is you can't get the genie back in the bottle. Like it's out.
Yeah.
Like it's Pandora's box has been
Yep,
opened.
yep.
You know.
We're not going back. No.
Yeah. So I think at this point it's just okay. How can we use it as a tool and not replace everybody that we're
Yeah.
working with? And so that's where the strike comes into place. It's money, right?
Yeah.
It's better residuals, better opportunities for both writers and actors. It's a very strange time. Although I will say this, I think this is a great time for independent filmmakers. I think this is a great time. I look at this, the last time that SAG and the WGA went on strike at the same time was in the 60s.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
That was the last time they went on strike. And I was researching this for a paper I was doing. And coming out of that, you got the auteurs of the 70s, the Brian De Palmas, right? The Jonathan Demmes, the Martin Scorseses, the Steven Spielbergs.
Yep.
You got all of these great auteurs who were like, they were independents.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody forgets Star Wars was an independent film, right? Star Wars, the first one, the original OG was an independent film, right? If it weren't for what was happening in the 60s, you had these big budget disaster movies like the Poseidon Adventure and, the Towering Inferno and all these movies from the 60s, and they just weren't making money. So they had to go back to the drawing board. They had a strike, and coming out of all of that chaos was the rise of the independent filmmaker in the 70s.
Wow.
Then
From
you
the
saw
ashes.
it again in the 80s
Dude, yeah.
and the 90s again. Tarantino,
James
Rodriguez.
Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, James Cameron is James freaking Cameron.
James freaking Cameron, man. And he's still
doing it.
breaking ground.
Roger Corman, man.
Yeah.
Roger
We just
Corman
talked-
was lifting up all these filmmakers in the 70s. You got the Roger Corman's film school that produced Ron Howard, James Cameron, Samuel Jackson was in that whole group. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, now,
amazing.
now you got me all jazzed up for the
I'm telling
future
you,
of filmmaking, man.
I think if everybody plays their cards right, because the opportunities for distribution there's not a massive barrier there anymore. Not like it used to be.
Yeah.
If we play our cards right and we push the envelope as much as we can, then the independent filmmaker is going to take over this thing. Now the question will come, okay, where is the industry going to come and take hold again?
Yeah.
And then, because all this stuff happens in cycles.
Yeah. Well, and we're in new territory too, even just with like streaming and how we battle that
Yeah.
as well. Just like musicians are when streaming came out and, the industry changed for them. We're
Right.
kind of all paving the new rules and determining what's fair, just like the strike
Right.
with, how the finances are structured now
Right.
with streaming. It's all new territory. So,
Yeah.
man, you got me excited
awesome.
just about the future of filmmaking. I know we got to get you out of here. So
No, you're good.
Before we get you out of here, though,
Yes.
we got 5 questions that we like to
Okay.
ask every guest that comes on our show, man.
Let's do it.
So if you could do it all over again,
Yeah.
what is one thing you'd do differently as a filmmaker?
Oof. I don't know that I'd change anything. I don't know, because I didn't have a camera as a kid. I didn't have a camera until I got into high school. So I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker at a very early age. It was about 1987. I watched Empire Strikes Back, and I was like, I want to do this. This
So
I don't know
awesome.
how they did this, but this is awesome. And I didn't have a camera. I was a single parent home, single mom, and we couldn't afford it. So what I could do was draw. And I loved comics. And I started putting 2 and 2 together. Wait a minute. these comic panels look like storyboards. Mm-hmm. Right? I didn't know what a storyboard was, but these comic panels look like the frames of these movies. Well, I could do that. And so that was my launch pad. And then, of course, the action sports stuff, the skateboarding. I don't know that I'd change a thing because I think all of the stuff that I've done has allowed me to fill up my toolbox.
Yeah.
And has gotten me to this point to where now I'm doing this feature and we're running out of money. And, okay, who's doing VFX? Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I've got a team of people who we're working with, but, I'm leading the charge on that. So I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have the path that I had.
That's
Love that,
awesome.
man.
So,
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't
good.
change a thing.
It's
That's great.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love that answer. What excites you about the current film industry or market right now?
It's what we were just talking about. I think the democratization of the industry. I think we're getting closer and closer to it. I think we're getting to a point where, YouTube exists, man. It only takes a couple of viral videos for you to hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
And, and make it a legitimate business, There's no roadblocks like there were when I was coming up, and to you as well. I mean, you were mid 2000s, late 2000s, it's the same thing, man.
Oh, yeah.
We hadn't hit that peak yet. And so I think I think it's good. It's like I said, I really believe in the independent scene. And I think that independent filmmakers can really make stuff happen now. So, yeah, I think we're in a good spot.
Well, you're pumping me up, man.
Yeah.
Especially, looking back through history and talking about the 60s and rising from the ashes. I'm ready to go make some movies.
Yeah.
Joey, what are we doing?
Everybody should be making short films
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah, agreed.
Why do you say that?
Because that's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way you're going to figure out your style. That's the only way you're going to fail and not have to worry about, I don't have to worry about this $1 million budget because I don't have that.
Right.
We're shooting a 5-minute piece where I can go test an idea. And then if it works, great. If it doesn't,
You're out
okay.
of time.
Yeah. I listened to this filmmaking podcast, and I can't remember which one it is. We'll give it a plug if I remember. But it was this girl from Europe. It was a DP filmmaking podcast, and she said that her goal was to work on a short film like every week or every month, and she had like over 90 plus short films that she'd been a part of.
Yeah.
And she said because it's just practice. Like if this is what you really want to do, why aren't you putting in the hours? Kind of like going back to the skateboard analogy, you put in your 1,000 hours. And so she just constantly, and she was working on features too. But then she was like, oh yeah, I'll just go work on a short film for free because it's what I love to do, and I learn. I get to try out a new lens, try out a new technique. So, man, I think that is great advice.
Yeah.
Where are we as an industry headed in filmmaking, and what should we be focusing on right now?
And it's the indies. I mean, it's. I think Jason Blum said it best. I was working in LA in 2019, and he came out and did this talk. I don't remember where he was at. He later did an interview with somebody. It was after I think Us came out.
Great movie.
And he was talking about, I think it was Us, I can't remember. He does all these really great low budget movies. But he was warning in 2019, maybe even earlier than that. But I remember in 2019 being in LA going, whoa, that makes a lot of sense. Like he was saying, this is not sustainable. The budgets that we have are not sustainable. With what we're getting from the theatrical release and what is happening. I mean, the analog Blu-ray DVD thing it's slowly dwindling
I
away.
watched that video where he was talking about all that.
Yeah, and then it's the streamers. The money is not coming in the way it used to.
Right.
And so
The way it did from DVDs back in the day. Yep.
Exactly. So there's this disparity with how much money we're bringing in versus how much we're paying on average for these movies. And we've got to bring that back down.
Yeah, and he was saying, to my memory, that's the reason why they can't make movies the way that they used to anymore is because of the death of the DVD.
Exactly.
Like so much revenue.
The home
that
video market was
movies-
huge.
It used to bring in, like, if a film didn't do amazing in the theaters, they were
It became
like,
a cult classic because it sold 1 million copies
Right.
on VHS.
right, and
Yeah.
and people had so much extra revenue coming in on the back end of their film once the theater release was done, and now that's gone away due to streaming.
Look at Willow, right? They just did a TV show of Willow on Disney Plus. That would have never happened because the theatrical release of Willow wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until it went on VHS that it got a massive bump.
Yeah.
And it sold a ton.
Yeah.
And then it became this endearing classic, and everybody, I loved it. I still love it. So, I mean, you're missing out on a lot of that because that particular revenue stream is no longer there.
What was the...
But back to your question, though, real quick.
Yeah.
Back to your question. I think the industry is going to go in such a way that you'll start to see the studios reduce the cost of their budgets. They'll pull their budgets down, except for those big tent poles. I think the Marvels, the stuff like that, they'll still get their budgets. But I think you'll see stuff like Oppenheimer, which had a fairly decent budget. I don't know, man. I don't know if he's getting that budget next time.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't. I don't know. He might. He might be one of the
Christopher
few.
Nolan.
He might be one of the few that gets it. But again, it's like from a corporate company, you're looking at what's the ROI. Like, what's the return on my investment on this movie?
Yeah.
If I'm spending $100 million, this thing better make $4.
Right.
You know, and so I think we're gonna start seeing mid budgets again, which we haven't seen mid budgets in forever. It's always been high budgets and low budgets. The mid budget has been gone. I think we'll start seeing that mid budget and that low budget start to rise back up.
It's awesome, man. Yep. Well, everything that you're saying is exciting me. So,
and I could be totally full of crap. And none of this happens.
I don't think you're wrong, though. I really don't. Like,
it's
it
just
all
an
adds
educated
up.
guess. That's all.
I mean, all we can do is look into the future and see what makes sense. But you know, who knows? But I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice that you can give to filmmakers trying to grow in their craft or their business right now?
Make a short film at least every quarter. Yeah.
That's good.
Or if you can't do that because you're too busy, make at least 2 short films in a year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
it's totally
just
doable.
Film. Just, I don't care if you're shooting birds. Like, if you're not shooting
Tell
birds,
a story.
Filming birds.
Yeah.
That's what I should say. I mean, taking it outside, you know, filming a tree waving in the wind, you know, just something.
Yep.
Get a camera and go shoot something. You know, understand what it means to shoot during the day and sunlight, you know, under tree, in the shade, at night. Just like put yourself in these situations to film and then find out where those edges are.
Yeah.
Right? If you do that, I mean, that's how I did. I was creative. Be creative. You know, I did expanded cinema in the beginning when I started. Nobody knows what the hell that is. Not even I know what that is.
I don't know what
right?
it is.
It's essentially, it's just art cinema, right? It's immersive, interactive cinema. And it was fun. It was creative. So that's what I would say. Just be out there as much as you can filming. Business-wise, you got to start very early on, taking it very serious. I mean, understand that you as an individual are a business. What you do is a business, right? So treat it as such. And don't lose yourself to it.
That's the challenge.
That's me. Take it from me. I was on an airplane 3 to 4 times a week, and I missed the first decade of my daughter's lives because I was gone all the time. I saw them basically on the weekend. Don't do that. Like, find your boundaries, find your edges. Like, enjoy it. Lose yourself in the craft, but don't lose yourself completely to it. Like, put up those boundaries.
That's so good, man. Yeah, so I know that I am in a place where I'm running full steam towards trying to do what I can, as all of us artists did, to make those dreams of making those projects happen. And everyone that I've talked to that's made it is like, you've got to get in check early on what is most important in life, because it's not making that film.
So I always think of this like a pyramid. This is the tunnel that you're in when you're working. Every once in a while, you got to do this. You got to look to the left and the right. Okay, there's my kids. All right, let me get out of the tunnel. Let me go do something with my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't lose sight of that stuff. Don't lose sight of you and who you are in your relationship with other people.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Preaching.
yeah.
It's great. It's great. It's needed to be. I know I'm in a spot in my career. I just had a daughter. She's 13, 14 months old, about to have another one. So I'm living all that as well because I run, 10, 12-hour days every day, trying to keep the wheels from falling off, making sure, wearing multiple hats in our production company. And then you just go, but I can't miss these moments either, So it's so important to hear that from somebody that's gone before and done that. And I have been pulling back, there's opportunities of, be on this short film or this feature. And I go, I can't be away for 21 days.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, your kids are far more worth, your family and your friends are far more worth than anything that you're ever going to produce. Right?
So true.
Like anything that I've ever produced in my entire life has been great. Very lucky, very blessed to have worked with all the great people that I have, but none of that is worth as much as my kids or my wife.
So good, man.
It's good. Reality
It's a good
check on this
reminder,
podcast.
too.
Right
Because
here.
listen, man,
It is.
all this stuff is going to end one day, and I'm not going to be making movies one day.
Right.
That's right.
Right? I don't think I'm going to be like Clint Eastwood doing this until I'm 90.
I don't know if Clint thought Clint was going to be like Clint.
Yeah, but who's going to be there for you when all that stuff ends?
Right.
Yeah. It's good, man. Yeah, it's a good, sobering reality check. So
We should do this again.
we should.
Yeah.
Over a beer.
Yeah.
100%.
I feel like we could at least cover another hour or two. We didn't even get to all the
and
questions.
I'm sorry, I'm
Easy.
No, you're
long-winded.
good.
No,
No,
it's good.
so
We
much
love
good
this.
knowledge.
Yeah.
We got one last final question.
Yes.
One final one, man. Who is one filmmaker you really admire and why?
Oh, man, that's a tough one.
Just one that
There's
made an impact that you're like, man, this dude or this gal.
I
they're
mean,
awesome.
if I'm picking one, it's Steven.
Steven.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
I had 4 movies that were given to me when I was about, 7 or 8 years old. And I was staying at my grandparents', and it's boring at my grandparents', but they had a VHS tape player. And so my mom's friend at work said, okay, I know Jonathan's at, his grandparents'. Here's 4 movies. My boys aren't watching them anymore. They've gone to college. Give it to him and let him watch them over the summer.
Yeah.
Bro, it was like a treasure trove. Those 4 movies, and I talk about this to my students. It was Close Encounters, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, wow.
Unreal.
Those were the 4 movies that this lady that was a friend of my mom
Love it.
gave to her for me to watch. And that is
Pure
not
gold.
a lie.
Classic.
Pure gold.
And I still have those movies.
Dang. Yeah,
So Steven, because 3 of those films
Yeah.
were his, and I just love his visual style.
he did The Shining, right?
No, that was Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley.
Yeah, that was Stanley
I always
Kubrick.
get those mixed
Yeah.
up. Yeah. I just
Yeah.
went to totally off topic, but I just went to the hotel that was written
Overlook.
about
Yeah.
in Estes Park
Yeah,
or whatever.
Estes Park, yeah.
I just went there and I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, not Spielberg.
Yeah.
Stanley
Stanley
Kubrick.
Kubrick. Yeah.
Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Yeah.
All the items on their breakfast cafe were like quotes from the movie. It was
Yeah.
great.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, totally sidebar. But dude, Jonathan, thank you
awesome.
so much for coming out
Yeah,
to the
guys.
pod today, man. This has been fun.
Appreciate it.
Just getting to riff back and forth, talking about stuff going on in the industry right now. We appreciate your wisdom, your time, your experience, man. Thank you for coming out here.
Yeah, thank you guys.
If people are looking to get in touch with you, man, how can they get connected?
I'll give you an email. Our company email is probably the easiest one. I mean, you can try and hit me up on social.
Yeah.
At Pro Xavier, and I'll give that to you guys.
Sure.
But I'm rarely, if ever, on social media.
Yeah.
I exist there, but I'm not the one that actually runs it. But info@daedaleспictures.com. That's our general mailbox.
Beautiful.
It will get to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, dude, thank you so much for just coming out once again. This has been a really solid episode. So, thank you again for your time. Be sure to follow the Rough Cut Club on all platforms if you have not done so already. We really appreciate all you guys who are actually hitting us up, saying that this podcast has done something for you in your career. So we hope to keep that going with more guests like Jonathan. Appreciate you, man.
Proud of you, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Good job.
Cheers.